tell you a story. I was in Big W the other day and I saw this book for sale and I was like, I'm gonna get it. Like, I didn't even have any second thoughts because it's by E. Lockhart, who is one of my favorite authors. So I was like, there's no way I won't like this book. And then I read it and let me tell you, this is not going to be a nice review. This is going to be a depressing review, which is really awful because I feel like all of my reviews on my channel are kind of like negative ones and I wanted a positive one, but this book was a disappointment. Hello everyone, my name is Mia and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be reviewing Again by E. Lockhart. I'm just so sad because I really thought this book would be incredible and I was like, ooh, another E. Lockhart book to put on my shelf as part of the E. Lockhart collection, but now just even the cover is kind of depressing me. So usually I'd give books 2 stars if they were okay, but I feel like with my extreme disappointment, this is like almost less than okay, but I feel like giving it 1.5 is kind of harsh, so I don't really know. I think it's between 1.5 or 2 stars. So the blurb kind of gives the impression that this book is going to be like a love story set in multiple universes or something along those lines. And honestly, it would be fine if it wasn't a love story, but it's like not really an anything story. Which brings me to the major point or the major gripe I have with this book, which is that I feel like the plot is just, I don't know, I just really don't like it. I just think that this book is not very interesting, as in it was kind of hard for me to read, as in not because of the contents of the book, but because nothing was propelling me through the story. I didn't really connect to any of the characters, and also this book is incredibly short, which is a good thing because it means that you can finish it quickly, but it also means that I feel like there's not that much substance. So the thing is, this book is about a lot of things. Like, it kind of starts off with the idea that it's a love story, and the thing about E. Lockhart's books is that lots of them are stories about love, as in there is some sort of romantic relationship at the center of a story, but it's also so much more, and that relationship kind of facilitates explorations of other ideas. However, in this case, I mean, that kind of happens, like it's kind of about these 2 people and their relationship. And I mean, even the cover makes it look like it's going to be about these 2 people and their relationship and how it occurs in multiple different universes. However, it quickly moves on from that. It's also about the main character, who's called Adelaide, and her relationship with her brother, and her brother is an addict. And I mean, that's fine, like it's interesting to also explore that in this book. However, you're just not really prepared for it when you start reading this, and when you do get accustomed to the fact that it's also about Adelaide's feelings, like all of her misery regarding her brother and his addiction and his recovery. Okay, so you get used to that part, but then it kind of swerves and it's not really about that either. Like, it's just about a whole bunch of stuff, and though there is a plot, it's like a very kind of precarious thin line plot, as in things are happening and they are happening in order, and there's also the multiple universes things happening, but it's not particularly a story. Like, at the end of this, I didn't feel like I read a story, I just feel like I read a heap of events. So regarding the multiple universes thing, which I might have mentioned and you might be confused about, basically when events occur in this story, there'll be like bold parts where it'll be like a rehash of the same event but slightly different, which is interesting. I'll be frank, maybe I just am totally stupid and I missed the point of this story. So if you know like the secret meaning behind the story is, or what you think the bigger meaning is, then let me know down in the comments below. I mean, I always wonder if I'm secretly stupid and I have no idea what a book is really about, but I really tried to read this. Like, I really tried to find the meaning, and I understand that there are attempts at meanings, but I don't know, none of them particularly stood out to me. I will just say that even though E. Lockhart does present some ideas in this book, I think that it all gets lost because of the lack of plot. For example, I am going to compare again to one of my favorites, The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks. The thing is, Frankie is a lot more interesting, as in the book, not just the character, but I guess the character as well. But anyway, the book is really interesting because it actually has a good plot, as in you could read this and not pick up on any of the discussions about feminism or gender, anything like that. You could just read it for the plot, about the boarding school, the secret society, all of that, and you could still have a fun time. This book doesn't really have much of a plot, it just feels really weak. Also, another thing that I want to mention is that if you've read We Were Liars, do you remember the parts that were written kind of like in verse? And then it'll just go back to normal prose. Well, that occurs in this book as well. So it just randomly goes into prose at some points. Now the thing is, I mean, that's fine, you can write in prose if you want, but in my opinion, I feel like it really didn't add anything to the story. I looked at the lines and I was like, I don't really know why this part is suddenly in verse and the rest is in prose. Again, this just might be me being stupid. Also, the way that the lines just broke off, like, okay, I don't know much about verse, I don't know much about poetry, but I do know that apparently the line breaks are meant to mean anything. I didn't really find any meaning in these random line breaks, and honestly, maybe I'm just being really cynical, but like, these random verse parts just made me wonder whether that occurred to, you know, make the book longer, because the book is really short. Like, it doesn't seem like it, but it's like less than 300 pages. I mean, I just feel like YA books are longer these days. Maybe it doesn't really matter, but I'm just saying that when you finish this book and you turn over and you look at the author's note and you realize that's it, in my experience, I was just like, I'm so underwhelmed. I feel like I'm really negative. I'm trying not to be. Like, I want to love this book, I really do, but I just didn't. Now, after that long spiel, I am going to talk about this book more in a spoilery way, but it's not really spoilers because nothing really happens. Like, there's no twists really or turning points. Like, there's not really any spoilers. So if you haven't read this book, you could probably watch this part as well if you want to. Alright, so in this book there's the whole multiple universes part. There is a philosopher character who mentions multiple universes once. That was interesting, but other than that, I feel like I wasn't really informed or told to look a certain way, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like books are trying to teach you something. At least that's what I get from E. Lockhart books. I feel like I read them because I want to kind of be smarter. And then when I finished this book, I read the author's note because I was like, what are all the other complexities of this book? So in her acknowledgements, one of the things she mentions is a research paper which challenged the predominance of the monogamy paradigm in recent young adult fiction. So I think this is referring to the fact that Adelaide seems like she's going to get with this guy called Jack, but she doesn't really, and Jack is kind of a bit sketch anyway. And then there's a parallel universe where she gets with this other dude called Oscar. I mean, I think that's what it's about. I mean, I guess that's interesting. And I'm guessing the words monogamy, paradigm, predominance, I guess that just is referring to the way how in young adult books, people just get with one person and they stay with them and they're in a monogamous relationship. I feel like I'm just looking really stupid in this video. She also mentions a paper which calls out the rigid beauty standards to which male characters adhere to in many contemporary novels. So I'm guessing that refers to this character Jack, who is not only described as like astonishingly beautiful, but he's also got like this kind of, I mean, I don't know if this is related, but he's got like this kind of tragic backstory, I guess, where his mother has died and he's got a limb abnormality, and I think he just like looks like a tragic hero, and he discusses this himself, how girls in the book see him as like a tragic hero and then they just like the idea of him. I just feel like this book is so much about random things that isn't really about anything. Oh my god, also another thing is that this book is set at Alabasta. That's the same school Frankie was set in, which, I mean, honestly, when I read that, I kind of felt a little bit of dread because it really irritated me how the same setting was in both books, and this book did mention Frankie. Not Frankie as a character, but like the events of this book. I just didn't like the way the setting was recycled. I don't think Alabasta really did much to add to the story of this book. But in this book, Alabasta really contributes to the story, as in you can't really have it in any other setting. In We Were Liars, it's set on an island, which is like practically perfect. You can't really change the setting. I just feel like the setting of this, I just really didn't like it being set at Alabasta. And personally, I didn't care for really any of the characters. Adelaide was, I mean, I guess I understood her, but I don't think that I particularly connected to her or really liked her or was interested in her as much as I am in E. Lockhart's other heroines. Jack was not particularly likable, and he's kind of written as a plain character, but that's like what E. Lockhart wants. I didn't really care for any of the family members or the friends. Oscar in the last part was nice. I liked that. That was nice. You know, I don't really know if this whole review is a mess. So thanks for watching this review anyway. Let me know what you personally thought of this book and whether you liked it or whether you didn't. I'd really like to hear your thoughts, and I'd really like to hear what you think about all of the things that occur in this book, like the ideas, what you think the meanings are, that kind of thing. Please let me know. If you want to see more videos from me about reading, writing, books, anything like that, then consider subscribing. And that's it for today. Bye!